We don't do strangers at Christmas, Dad. Alicia made that clear. That's what my son, Nathan, said to me, standing in his own doorway, blocking it with his arm like I was a salesman he needed to get rid of. My name is Charles Gray. I'm 71 years old, and 3 hours earlier I'd landed at Charleston International with a suitcase full of gifts I'd wrapped myself. A fishing rod for my grandson, a bracelet for my granddaughter, a bottle of bourbon for Nathan because he used to love that stuff before he married into money. Nathan's wife, Alicia Robertson, stood behind him in the hallway, arms crossed, not a hair out of place. She didn't need to. She just looked at me the way you'd look at something tracked in on the bottom of a shoe. I'd driven myself to the airport in Denver at 4 a.m. I hadn't seen my son in 2 years. He called me 2 weeks ago, first time in months, and said, "Come for Christmas, Dad. The kids miss you." I told everybody at my apartment complex. I told the mailman. I told the pharmacist filling my blood pressure pills. My son wants me for Christmas. I should have known something was wrong when he texted me the address instead of calling. Should have known when he didn't offer to pick me up from the airport, and I had to pay $94 for a cab I could barely afford on my pension. But I didn't know. I was just an old man standing on a porch in the cold, holding a suitcase, hoping. "Nathan," I said, "it's me. It's your father." "I know who you are, Dad." He wouldn't look at me straight. He kept glancing back at Alicia like a dog checking with its owner before it does a trick. "Look, there's people here, business people, Alicia's clients from the firm. It's not a good night. You told me Christmas Eve. You said it yourself." Things changed. Behind him, through the window, I could see the tree, real one, 8 feet tall, lit up gold. I could hear laughing, glasses clinking, my grandkids' voices somewhere in there, and I hadn't heard those voices in person in 2 years. "Can I at least see the kids? 5 minutes?" Alicia finally spoke, quiet, even, like she was talking to an employee she was about to let go. "They're already asleep, Charles. It's late." It was 7:40 p.m. "Maybe you should get a hotel," she said. "We'll figure out a better time to visit after the holidays are calmer." I looked at my son, 44 years old. I paid for his first car. I sat in a hospital waiting room for 11 hours when he broke his leg, falling out of a tree in our backyard in Ohio. I worked 2 jobs after his mother left so he could go to state on a partial scholarship without drowning in debt. And now he was standing in a doorway that led into a house I'd never once been invited into, letting his wife tell me to find a hotel on Christmas Eve. "Nathan," I said, "look at me." He did, finally, just for a second, and in that second I saw it. The kid was still in there somewhere, buried under whatever she'd built on top of him. His jaw was tight. His eyes were wet. He wasn't happy. He wasn't in control of this, but he wasn't going to fight for me either. "I'm sorry, Dad. I'll call you tomorrow." The door closed. I heard the deadbolt turn. I stood there in the cold, snow starting to come down, soft and quiet, my suitcase handle frozen to my palm, and for a second I didn't feel anything at all, just numb. Then it hit me. Not sadness, something colder than that, something clear. Because here's the thing nobody in that house knew. Here's what my son forgot, or maybe never really understood in the first place. 3 years ago, before Nathan even met Alicia, I quietly bought the building his firm operates out of downtown through a holding company under a name that isn't mine on any public record. I own the lease that Alicia's precious law firm depends on. I hold paper on debts her own father is drowning in and hoping nobody finds out about. And in 6 weeks, a trust set up by Nathan's grandfather, one Nathan doesn't even know exists, matures, and I'm the one who decides if it's released or redirected. I stood on that porch, and instead of getting angry, I got calm. I took a notepad out of my coat pocket, the one I always carry, and I started writing. I wasn't writing to hurt my son. I was writing to wake him up. I walked to the mailbox at the end of that long driveway, slipped the note inside, picked up my suitcase, and called a cab back to the airport. 3 days later, back home in Denver, sitting in my recliner with the TV off, my phone rang for the first time. Then again, then 11 more times before noon. I didn't answer, not yet. Because sometimes the coldest thing you can do to someone who slammed a door on you is stay silent long enough to let them read exactly what they threw away.
Dad, what did you write? Is it true? All of it? That was Nathan's voice on the phone. Day 4, 9 a.m. sharp, same time I always got up. I'd been waiting for that call, sitting in my recliner with my coffee going cold, watching the snow pile up outside my window in Denver. Every word, I told him. He'd read the note, standing in his own kitchen, I imagine, phone in one hand, the other braced on the counter like the floor had shifted under him. See, here's what I wrote in that note I left in his mailbox in Charleston. I told him I own the building his firm operates out of. I told him about the trust his grandfather set up, the one nobody bothered to tell him about, set to mature on his birthday next month. And I told him one more thing, that I know exactly why he got passed over for partner last spring, and it wasn't because he wasn't good enough. Is Alicia there? She's on speaker. Hello, Alicia. Her voice came through tight, controlled, like she was reading off a script she hadn't finished writing. Charles, there's clearly been some kind of misunderstanding. We'd love for you to come back down, spend some real time with us. The kids have been asking about their grandfather. I almost laughed out loud. Kids who'd never so much as had a phone call with me, asking about me? Sure. That's kind, I said, but I have plans. Dad, Nathan cut in, voice cracking a little. We need to talk face to face. About the trust. About everything. About what exactly, Nathan? About how your wife told me to get a hotel on Christmas Eve? Or about how she walked into a partner meeting last March and told the senior partners you weren't ready, right before they gave the promotion to Derek Whitfield instead? Silence. Real silence. The kind where you can hear someone's breathing change. How do you know that? He said slowly. Because I own 12% of that firm's building lease, and I've had people watching my investment for 3 years. You'd be amazed what a landlord hears, Nathan. Alicia wouldn't. She would. She did. Ask her yourself. Ask her about the meeting on the 14th floor at 3 p.m. Ask her why Derek Whitfield's wife plays tennis with her every Tuesday at the club on Daniel Island. I heard something drop in the background. Glass, maybe. Then a door. When Nathan came back, his voice had changed. Smaller. She's not in the room anymore. Good. Why are you telling me this now? After everything? After the door? Why now? That question sat in my chest like a stone. Because I'd been a coward, that's why. Because I kept telling myself he'd remember who I was on his own without me having to force it. Because 3 days ago, you called me a stranger. And strangers don't leave millions of dollars to people, Nathan. Family does. So which one are we? He didn't answer that. Not right away. What do you want from me? He finally said. Nothing. I'm not asking you for anything, but I am the trustee of your grandfather's estate, and that comes with responsibilities. If I determine the money's at risk, mismanaged, or somebody else's hands are in it, I've got the legal right to redirect every dollar to charity instead. I've got a meeting with my attorney on the 26th. What you decide between now and then is your business. You're threatening me. I'm giving you information, I said, which is more than you gave me when you shut that door in my face. There was a long pause. I could hear him breathing, could picture him running his hair through his hair the way he used to when he was a teenager and got caught in a lie. I should go, he said finally. I hear her coming back. One more thing, Nathan. I kept my voice even. The email account I mentioned in the note, the one with the documents, password's your birth year. Everything's there. Every transfer, every conversation, all of it. He hung up without saying goodbye. I sat there in my chair for a long while after that, staring at the phone, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Not anger exactly, more like the sensation right before a storm breaks, when the air goes still and heavy. My phone buzzed once more, close to midnight. A text, not a call. I looked at the account. I'm coming to see you, not calling first, driving straight to your place tomorrow. I read it twice. He wasn't supposed to come to me. Nobody comes to a landlord's building unannounced, not unless they've found something in those files I hadn't planned for him to find yet. I didn't sleep much that night, wondering exactly what my son had seen in that account that made him get in a car instead of picking up a phone.
Dad, open the door. I know you're in there. Nathan's voice, low and rough, coming through a hotel room in downtown Charleston, the Francis Marion, 6 blocks from his house. I hadn't gone home after all. I'd checked in the night he shut that door on me, told myself I'd fly back to Denver in the morning, and then just didn't. Something told me to stay close, watch how this played out. I opened the door. My son stood there in the hallway, looking like he hadn't slept in 2 days. Wrinkled shirt, dark circles under his eyes. He'd lost weight since Christmas Eve, or maybe I just hadn't looked at him close enough in years to notice these things. "You've been here the whole time?" he said, not a question. "Come in, Nathan." He walked past me into the room, eyes scanning it like he expected something to jump out, like he still half believed I was some kind of stranger with a hidden agenda instead of his father. "The account," he said, dropping into the chair by the window. "The recordings. Alicia really did all of it? The partner meeting, the calls to Derek's wife? All of it?" "Every bit." He put his head in his hands. "She's been lying to me the entire marriage." "I believe so, yes." "Why didn't you tell me years ago? Why didn't you fight to reach me?" He looked up, and for a second I saw the 8-year-old who used to run to me with skinned knees, expecting me to fix everything. That question cut deeper than I wanted to admit. "At first, I didn't know," I said. "Then I suspected. By the time I had proof, you seemed happy, or I told myself you were." "Do you know what my life's been like?" His voice cracked. "The pressure to make partner, the pressure to keep up with her family's friends. Every decision I make, she's got an opinion, and somehow her opinion is always the one that wins." "No," I said, quietly. "I don't know. Because you shut me out, Nathan." He flinched, like I'd hit him. "She said I was controlling, that you never approved of her, that you'd try to manipulate me if I let you back in." "And you believed her?" "It was easier than admitting I'd made a mistake." He rubbed his face. "But Dad, the building, the trust, $12 million? Who are you?" I sat down across from him. "I'm exactly who I've always been. Your mother and I built more than we ever let on back before she passed. We wanted you to make your own way, not live off ours." "And the building my firm's in?" "An investment. Your grandfather had a good eye for property before he died. I kept it quiet because I didn't want you working there thinking your father was watching over your shoulder." Nathan let out a short, ugly laugh. "The irony," he said. She's been chasing partner, chasing status, chasing every rich client at that firm, and my own father owns the building the whole thing sits in. There's more. Chief Sullivan called me this morning. His head snapped up. The police? Why? Because 2 days ago, Alicia filed paperwork at the county clerk's office trying to trace ownership of that building back to a name. My name. And yesterday, she wired $40,000 out of a joint account you don't know exists. What account? Check your bank statements from 3 years back, Nathan. Small transfers here and there. Nearly $200,000 moved slow enough that nobody would notice if they weren't looking. He stood up so fast the chair nearly tipped. She's been stealing from us. She's been protecting herself, in case a day like this one ever came. He paced to the window, staring down on the street below, the same street his own house sat 3 blocks off of, the same city he'd built his whole fake life in. What do I do? That's not my decision to make. She wants me to bring the kids to some Christmas dinner tonight, some fresh start thing. Says it's important to keep up appearances in front of her parents. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Nathan, where are the kids right now? With her, at the house. Has she said anything about travel, passports, anything unusual? He went still. She asked me last week where I kept the kids' passports, said something about a family trip in the new year. He turned to face me, and I watched the color drain from his face as the pieces clicked together in real time. Dad, you don't think... My phone buzzed on the table between us. A text from Chief Sullivan. Charles, thought you'd want to know. Alicia Robertson just booked 3 one-way tickets out of Charleston International, departing tonight, 9:40 p.m. I looked up at my son, and for the first time since that door slammed in my face, I saw real fear in his eyes.
Mrs. Reynolds, Alicia Robertson, I need you to step away from the counter. That was Chief Sullivan's voice, calm and even, cutting through the noise of Charleston International at 8:50 p.m. Nathan and I stood off to the side by the security checkpoint, close enough to see it, far enough to stay out of the way. My grandkids, Georgia, 7, and Hannah, 5, stood next to Alicia, small suitcases in their hands, both of them looking confused, tired, not understanding why their mother had told them this was an adventure. We'd made it in 22 minutes. Nathan drove like a man possessed, running 2 red lights while I called Sullivan from the passenger seat and gave him everything. Flight number, gate, the works. My contact with Sullivan wasn't luck. Years back, his wife and I sat on the same hospital board together in Denver, long before any of this started. A favor owed, cashed in at the exact right moment. Alicia turned, and for 1 second I watched every ounce of composure drain out of her face. The version of her that walked into that partner meeting and lied about my son, gone. What stood there now was something scared and cornered. "Nathan," she said, voice pitching high. "What is this? What did you do?" "What did I do?" Nathan stepped forward, and I'd never heard his voice like that before. Flat, hard, done. "You were leaving the country with our kids, without me, without a word. It was a trip, a surprise for the holidays. One-way tickets, Alicia." He held up his phone, the confirmation email pulled up on the screen. 3 one-way tickets to Portugal, no return date. Georgia looked up at her mother, then at her father, then at me, a grandfather she'd met exactly twice in her life, with the kind of confusion only a child can wear. Hannah just gripped her sister's hand tighter. Chief Sullivan stepped in closer, flanked by 2 officers.
Ma'am, we've got a court order here from an emergency custody filing this afternoon. Your husband is well within his rights to stop this boarding. This is insane, Alicia snapped, and she rounded on me, jabbing a finger toward my chest. You did this. You planted the seed the second you showed up at Christmas. You've been trying to tear this family apart from the day I met your son. No, Alicia. I kept my voice level because I'd promised myself I wouldn't lose control, not here, not in front of my grandchildren. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out.
Sullivan gestured to the officers. We're going to need you to come with us and sort this out downtown. Your husband will take the children. You can't. Ma'am, there's also a matter of $40,000 wired out of a joint account without your husband's signature 2 days ago. That's raised some flags of its own. Best you cooperate. Nathan crouched down in front of Georgia and Hannah, his voice gentle now, nothing like the flat tone he'd used with Alicia seconds before. Hey, it's okay. You're coming home with me tonight. Grandpa Charles is going to come too, if that's all right. Georgia studied me carefully, the same solemn look Nathan used to give me as a boy. Are you really our grandpa? Something in my chest cracked open, right there in that middle of the terminal. I really am, I said. I've got about 40 years of stories to tell you if you'll let me. Hannah, still holding her sister's hand, asked in a small voice, Do you have cookies at your house? I laughed, and it came out shakier than I meant it to. More cookies than you could eat in a month, sweetheart. As the officers led Alicia toward a side office, she looked back one final time, and what she said chilled me more than anything that had happened all week. You think this is over. You have no idea what I've already set in motion, Charles. Check your firm's stock price in the morning. Nathan froze, halfway to standing, one hand still resting on Georgia's shoulder. What is she talking about? I didn't answer right away, because I already had a bad feeling I knew exactly what she meant. My phone buzzed in my pocket, an email notification. Subject line, The Silent Landlord, How One Man's Secret Fortune Bankrolled a Family Betrayal. Published 4 minutes ago. By a business journal with 40,000 subscribers. Dad, they're calling it a scandal. My name's in the headline. Nathan's voice, shaking, phone in his hand at 6 a.m. the next morning. We were back at his house, the same house that had shut me out 5 days earlier, sitting at his kitchen table while Georgia and Hannah slept upstairs, finally somewhere safe. I read the article over his shoulder. Alicia had been sitting on it for weeks, apparently, a piece detailing my ownership of the building, the trust fund, my seat on 2 boards nobody knew about, all of it framed like some kind of corporate conspiracy, an insurance policy, timed to publish the second anything happened to her. She had this ready before we even landed at the airport last night, I said. She's trying to burn it all down since she can't have it. Let her try. I set my coffee down. Nathan, listen to me. Whatever this article costs, my reputation, some board seats, headaches with lawyers, none of that touches what actually matters. You, the girls. That's the only thing on fire that I care about putting out. He rubbed his eyes. The DA called an hour ago, said with the embezzlement and the attempted departure with the kids, Alicia's looking at real charges. Not just messy divorce stuff, actual charges. How do you feel about that? He was quiet a long moment. Numb, mostly, and relieved, which feels wrong to admit. It's not wrong, it's honest. Footsteps on the stairs, Georgia in pajamas, rubbing her eyes, Hannah trailing behind, dragging a stuffed rabbit by one ear. Is Mom coming back today? Georgia asked. Nathan crouched down to her level, the way he had at the airport. Not today, sweetheart. Some grown-up things need sorting out first, but you're safe, and I'm right here. Is Grandpa staying? Hannah asked, climbing into my lap without waiting for permission. I looked at Nathan over her head.
That depends on your dad. He's staying, Nathan said, and for the first time since that porch 5 days ago, he actually smiled. As long as he wants. Later that afternoon, once the girls were settled with cartoons, Nathan and I sat on the back porch, the same porch he'd blocked with his arm, telling me strangers weren't welcome. Snow had melted off it overnight. The Christmas lights were still strung along the gutters, nobody having bothered to take them down. I keep thinking about the note, he said, the one you left in the mailbox. What about it? You could have just called me, screamed at me. Instead, you wrote something down and walked away in the cold. He shook his head. That takes a kind of patience I don't think I have. I didn't do it out of patience, Nathan. I did it because I was done being quiet. Silence doesn't fix anything. It just buys time for people to keep lying to themselves. Are you going to fight the article? The board thing? My lawyers are handling it. It'll cost me something. It always does. I looked out at the yard, at the swing set half buried under melting snow that I'd bet money he built for these girls with his own hands. But you know what I realized standing on that porch 5 days ago, freezing, holding a suitcase full of Christmas presents nobody wanted? What? That I'd rather lose a building, a board seat, $12 million, all of it, than lose you twice. Once was already too many years. Nathan didn't say anything for a while. Then he reached over and put his hand on my shoulder, the same way I used to do to him when he was a boy scared of something in the dark. I'm sorry I let her close that door on you, he said. I should have fought. You're fighting now, I said. That's what matters. Inside the house, I could hear Georgia and Hannah laughing at something on the television, warm and safe and home, in a house that for the first time since I'd arrived didn't feel like it belonged to a stranger. It felt like it belonged to family.